welcome back. Today's cards are for Scrap and Stamp Canada, and I'm going to show you how to create these two really cute waterfall cards. I'll have the link down below on getting the templates to create these. I start off I'm using a silhouette cut file today, but I will share the template with you where you can create your own without the silhouette machine over on the Scrap and Stamp blog. So again, I'll link that down below. I have already gone ahead and cut out these pieces, and on this first card I do have a backer to it, and I'll show you how I kind of overcome some of these obstacles and problems I have along the way. So I've got this panel here that has these holes, and I will apply that down to it kind of is the backing for the base of that card there. And this T portion here, it's already scored for me, so I'm just going to fold it backwards, and then the top of the T there I also will fold, and we're going to be adhering that down in just a bit, and I'll show you how I do that. So I'm going to fold out this piece here backwards, and I'm going to use some liquid adhesive. You can use some score tape too if you like, but I'm just going to use some liquid adhesive to glue that together. And I'm using my Gina K Connect glue. So just applying it just in the middle here. You don't want to apply it on the ends of those tabs there, just a little bit here. Now I'm struggling with my glue here. I needed to, got all clogged up on me, but I think I've got enough down there. So I'm going to set that aside to dry. Again, I folded those score lines backwards so that it'll fold behind that T piece when we go to pull it down. I'm just going to use a tape runner here as my glue is giving me some troubles, and I will adhere that down to this backing piece just to give it a little bit of a frame. And so there's 4 images that you can stamp out, and I'm using the My Favorite Things Picture Perfect stamp set here. They're just adorable, and I did really quick Copic coloring off screen for these. These little hamsters crack me up. I think they are so adorable. Actually, all the images on here. And these 2 little monkeys, actually this is for my son Layton's buddy for his birthday, and these 2 little monkeys actually remind me of the 2 of them, and yeah, it made me laugh. I thought it was so cute. So what you're going to do is once you get, if you want a little backer on there or a frame, all those glued down, you're going to adhere them to this waterfall mechanism piece. So you can kind of see at the bottom there's a bit of a square, and you're going to line the top of your image to the top of that score line. Now I'm just trying to figure out which images I want on top and on bottom. So you'll want to start adhering them basically on the bottom. So the image that you want to go on top, you'll adhere last. Again, using my liquid adhesive, I line the top of that square image to that score line, and then again just layering them on top from there. And that glue is it was giving me some trouble, so I had to unclog it here. So then just laying that down, making sure that they're even on both sides. And those hamsters, oh my goodness, they're adorable. Again, issue with my glue, sorry guys. And once you get these all kind of layered together, the pull is kind of underneath those squares, but when you pull it down, it gives that waterfall effect. The images kind of change over. And these cats, I can just see them looking, into like a bird cage or a fish tank. I think that would be adorable. So as you can see here, I have these pieces cut out, and they have these little corresponding holes, and I will attach brads to them here. Now you don't have to have those holes. In fact, the template that I give you on the blog there, it does not have these. So then you would simply just use adhesive on those tabs, making sure that you're not applying it all the way to the back, otherwise that mechanism can't slide. So you would just attach the adhesive on the left and right portion of those tabs. So I'm using some extra strong adhesive here, the score tape, because this will be pulled on, and I want to make sure that the panel doesn't come off, that it's really nice and secure to that card. And as always, I struggle with adhesive, so I'm going to be using my adhesive trick here with just releasing a portion of the liner paper. And I'll use my craft pick here too. Do I use my craft pick? No, I think my fingernails actually are working today. So just folding it back halfway, I just pull it off halfway and then fold it over to the side so that when I lay it down onto the card base, I can just pull the rest of the liner out and it lays perfectly. I usually tend to adhere things crooked as well, so this helps in that process. Now the cut file I used with Silhouette, with my Silhouette cut file, I was making a bunch of these cards, that's why I used my Silhouette. It came with that little tab piece on the left there, and I realized, oh crap, I should have probably adhered that before pinning my panel down. So I will actually go ahead and do that now. You can use a brad, or again, you don't have to have those little holes. You can just glue it down with adhesive. That works as well. But like I said, I was creating a bunch of these cards. I don't show you all of them today, but I was creating like a boatload of these, and I used my Silhouette machine just so that it would make the process go a lot faster. Now the downfall with using a brad on this portion of the card is that brad will kind of stick to the bottom there. You can see it stick with the little square pieces there. So I don't recommend using the brad on the pull tab portion, and you'll see me fiddle it with it here. So again, laying that down, and I can now pull those release papers out, and my panel is nice and straight on my card base. And you'll see here that the squares that I created are actually way bigger than what they should be for these little pictures. So you can't actually see my pull tab. It's hidden away underneath there. But it still works. And now I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. So I fiddle around with my program, and I think the first thing I try is I use this twine. I'm like, okay, well maybe I can take that brad out and take that little tab piece off and just have twine, and then you can pull the twine to make the mechanism pull. So I'll go ahead and I'll try that out. So taking out that brad, you know, it's trial and error, guys. We all make mistakes. And again, most of the time that I create my cards, it is very late at night after a very long day of work and a very long day of kids. So my brain doesn't always function very clearly. And so I do want to keep this in so you guys know that, you know, we all make mistakes, and there's always a way to try and correct it. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So I was trying to see if I could get 2 pieces of twine in there, and that was a no-go. So I just decided to stick with 1. And I just loop it through here. And then I push it up. And it's okay, like it works, but I'm not 100% in love with it. So here I'm trying to figure out now, if I remove these and trim the blue backers down, will that work? And that's in the end what I do, but I'm going to try one more step here. So I do make this piece a little bit bigger with my Silhouette machine, and I will attach it with the brad again to see if that makes a difference. Again, keeping in mind that when I feed it through, the brad's got to be on the top, or the nice looking part of the brad. So it's better, but again, it's catching, and I don't like that. So I hum and I haw, and I take all those little squares off. I trim them down a bit smaller, and yeah, so that helps it to move a little bit better. So we'll see that in a minute here. I am going to actually just go ahead and use a little, it says Pull Me, and I think this is from Heffy Doodle. Yeah, I think it was a Heffy Doodle stamp set that I use here. And I stamp on the pull here, and, it's okay, it works better, but I do end up ripping all those little squares off and trimming them down. It looked better to me. Alright, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stamp the sentiment on the inside here. And I do use the sentiments that come along with this Picture Perfect set from My Favorite Things. And the sentiment I used was Our Friendship is Picture Perfect, which was really quite fitting for my son and his little friend here. And then from this Ahoy Matey Lawn Fawn set, I'm using the Happy Birthday. So yeah, I thought it was really cute using that Picture Perfect sentiment with the little waterfall of pictures, and then just adding this Happy Birthday to it to finish off that card. So there we go. We'll go ahead and pull it, and we can see that all the pictures flip. Again, it does get caught here, and I will kind of overcome that in a minute. So here you can see that I've trimmed everything down. The squares are a lot smaller. I'm going to go ahead and pull here, and it works a lot better. It doesn't stick as much, but actually what I end up doing is I attach the gift card onto that pull mechanism, that slider mechanism, and it lifts it just enough that it doesn't get caught on that brad. So I'll show you the finished card here. And I didn't embellish the front anymore. You could stamp more. There's that gift card that I used that really helped. You can put that there. And there's the inside of the card. So again, you can embellish the front as much as you want. My second card was going to my oldest son, his teacher. So this is for Arden's teacher. And again, I'm folding over that T portion. I'm adding some liquid adhesive there just to hold it. You'll want to use like a good heavy cardstock for this, like a 110-pound cardstock for this pull mechanism, just to give it some stability. Any interactive or moving parts, you'll want to go with a heavier cardstock, just so it doesn't fall apart and it gives it that structure that it needs. So then from here, what I'm going to do is I will get my panel ready. That's just a panel that I got off the internet, just a coffee theme panel that worked really well. I'm going to score or fold over on these score lines for that waterfall mechanism, making sure that you're folding it to the back so that when you pull it, those pictures fall away. And then I'm going to adhere this with the brads. Again, you don't have to use brads, but just making sure if you're using adhesive, you're only putting adhesive on the end parts of that tab so that that mechanism can slide, like right here. You wouldn't want to put adhesive where it's going to slide. So I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive here, or sorry, my tape runner rather, and just putting this on the back. Now on the first one I used score tape, and I would recommend using score tape. It's a lot easier to put down because I can get it straight, and it's a lot stronger, but on this one I'm not exactly sure why I didn't use it, to tell you the truth. I typically do, but I didn't, so yeah, there's that. So again, I'm attaching the tab. This time I'm using this really fun triangle brad that matches perfectly in color to the pull tab mechanism. Again, I would likely not use a brad on here, but because again I was going to be attaching a gift card, that it lifted it up enough. It wasn't a big deal. So I'll kind of fiddle with this. I do want the arrow to point downwards so that the recipient can see that, you know, it's kind of like an arrow to pull down. And then you can go ahead and just lay your images down. Remember that you're going to, whatever image that you want to show on top, you will adhere last. So then you line up the top of that square to that score line. Now these ones I just kept small. I didn't put a backer on them, so you will see the Copic bleed through on them. That bothers some people, but for me, again, this was probably like, I'm saying about 1, 2 in the morning. At this point, I was like, I need to get these done because the last day of school was the next day. So procrastinator me didn't get them done in time, so I was like, just get it done. I'm sure we've all been there with that. So there you go. You got all those cute little images adhered down, and when you pull it, you have that beautiful waterfall effect. So now it's time to stamp the sentiment, and I'm actually going to be using a sentiment from the Picket Fence Studios Good Teacher because I thought that was perfectly fitting for the recipient again. And the line I'm going to be using, the sentiment is, may your coffee be strong and your students calm. Again, very, very fitting for the recipient who likes coffee and whose students can be quite rowdy. Again, I'm using my favorite sentiment ink here, that Versaclair Nocturne ink. That's usually, I call it my one-shot wonder ink. You know, one shot of ink, and it's usually a perfect impression. And here's the look at that finished card. So I encourage you guys to look through your stamps at what you have and to make your own waterfall cards. Again, I want you to post your creations on Instagram using the hashtag snsblogwaterfallcards. I'd love to see all your creations. Thank you so much for stopping by today and joining me, and I hope you guys have a fantastic long weekend.